part two, when we are asked to answer, to make a speech for 2 minutes. So do we have to answer all the questions, or we just need to speak generally? Are we penalized? That's the question.
Yeah, good question. Look, I just to remind you, I'm sure I mentioned this before, Anna, but I'm recording this. I'm not recording the right screen. I'm recording the left screen, basically the audio. So your question is, do you have to answer all the bullets in speaking part two? And the answer is no. You do not have to answer all the bullets, and you will not be penalized in speaking part two if you go off topic. Now that's not like writing. That's not official, as in IELTS don't go telling people that.
So the focus is mostly on fluency and accuracy of speech, or I don't know, something like that.
Yeah. Now, having said that, I don't advise you to go off topic, or at least I don't. More accurately, I don't advise you to deliberately go off topic. For example, one of the questions used to be about an electronic device in your home, and it said not your computer. And so many candidates used to talk about their computer, but the examiner can't penalize them. However, it doesn't create a good impression if you're deliberately disregarding the instructions. If you start off talking about your computer, or start off talking about the topic, and then you go off at a tangent, which is a natural thing to do in spoken English, then that is definitely fine.
Just because it's 2 minutes in such short time.
It's 2 minutes. It's 2 minutes. I mean, it may, I don't know, a short time or not. With regard to the bullets, I would definitely use the bullets as a guide to helping you keep talking.
That's what I did on my first test. I tried to refer the bullets, but I omitted one of them because the time ended.
No problem whatsoever.
Okay.
Now, I can't speak for other examiners, so I don't know what they do, but I never used to look at the question. So the examiner reads the top line. He will say, I would like you to describe a time when you got a little angry. Okay, so that's your minute. Then you got your minute to think about what you're going to say. And while you're doing that, the examiner's thinking about what he's going to ask you in part three, or he's thinking about your score. He is not looking at the bullet points because he doesn't really care what the bullets say.
Isn't part three is built in questions that the examiner has before the test?
Yes, but what happens is that the examiner has 3 sets of questions, 3 frames they call them, and he has to ask 2 of them. So if you're a 7.5, then he will be looking and looking at the second frame and the third frame, and he'll be thinking about how he can phrase the questions and possible follow-up questions, because he's got 3 questions, and he also has to ask you a supplementary question. So that's what he's thinking about.
Is it different difficulties, like one frame?
So the first frame is designed for candidates who are below band score 7. So they tend to be easier questions. So you probably won't get any of those, but the first question is typically something like, what sorts of, if the question is food, what types of food are popular in your country? Or if it's films, what types of films are popular in your country? And the questions in the second frame are slightly more difficult. Not necessarily difficult for you, but they will be more difficult for a low-level candidate. And the questions in the third frame are definitely more difficult and more abstract.
I've noticed that. And another thing I was wondering, if I can't hear the question I just didn't hear what the examiner asked. Is it allowed for me to ask for a repetition of the question?
Yeah, or it may be that there's one word that you weren't sure about.
Yeah,
and so
that was.
You can say, "Did you say?" and then whatever you think he said, and he'll say, he'll confirm or not. So that is perfectly okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Because
obviously, if you do it 6 times, then he's going to think you're playing some kind of game, but trying to buy time or something. But no, if you want clarification, it's perfectly okay to ask for clarification.
My mistake was I didn't ask. I wasn't sure what I heard of the question, so I answered something, I don't know, something which was perhaps wasn't on the topic.
Yeah, well, it can't be too bad if he gave you a 7.5.
Okay.
Can it?
So no, it's a perfectly fine score for me, and I just also wanted you, if it's possible, to point to me my large mistakes in speaking, or something that you see which is mostly affects me, or I don't know how to paraphrase it.
Mostly what?
But my speaking is not perfect because it's not my not my native tone.
No, but obviously it's pretty good, and I would imagine that you're able to have a conversation fairly easily on a wide range of topics.
I hope so, but I just need to think some more about ideas of topics, just like arts, or describe. I don't know what I might be asked.
No,
I was asked
no, you
to
don't.
But
look, I would go to Liz's website, where somewhere on her website she's got current questions. And I think IELTS Simon has got current questions as well. So I would go through those two. And anything that has appeared in the last couple of months is going to be a current topic. What happened, or what used to happen, I've no reason to suppose it's changed, is that there are 2 current booklets of questions. And each booklet has 25 topics. That is part 2 and 3, and they change every 4 months. So one booklet remains current for 8 months.
So those topics are has good probability of being on the exam.
Yeah. So particularly, well, I think they change in September, January, and April, something like that. So anything from October, November, or September, October, November is probably a current topic. Now, if you're worried, if there's any topic that you're worried about, and many students seem to be worried about art, and it might be difficult in part 3, but in part 2 it shouldn't be difficult, because all you got to do is go and find some painting that you like, and find some information about it. And personally, I think it's easier to sort of go slightly off topic and talk about the painter. So choose a painter with an interest in life, and Van Gogh is always an interesting guy. There were some interesting events in his life, so you could talk about him. Part 3 is a bit more difficult.